Hey, what's happening? This is Isai Rodriguez, host of the Datsplanation podcast, where I cater to the professional working man 40 and above who's looking to make positive changes to his health, lose weight, and become stronger overall through simple lifestyle changes. I'm here to share inspiration, tips, and proven lessons that I've personally learned and lived through in my 40 plus years of this beautiful blue planet. So today we'll answer the question, should you drink coffee on an empty stomach? And then we'll move on to our second segment with how to master the perfect push-up arm position. And before we get into that, if you'd like to continue the conversation, then get on over to podcast.datsplanation.com/VIP to get on the VIP Insiders community, where I share more entertaining behind-the-scenes stories, tips, and hacks that'll keep you feeling younger each and every day. That's podcast.datsplanation.com/VIP. Again, that's podcast.datsplanation.com/VIP. Be in the know starting right now. Also, don't forget to rate me on iTunes by leaving me a nice, fat, juicy 5-star review and some absolutely beautiful words of why you love the show so much. It really helps me get the word out there, and it's honestly the one place where your vote truly matters. And now, let's get into our first segment, Healthy Conversations. So in this first segment today, we're talking about, we're addressing the question, should you drink coffee on an empty stomach? So I shared an interesting article with my VIP community a few days ago on this same topic, and I thought, I thought we'd talk about it here today because for most of us, getting our coffee fix first thing in the morning is more or less an absolute necessity. There's no questions about it, And let's face it, there's truly no better alarm clock than a warm mug of your favorite brew. And even though drinking coffee has tons of health benefits like protecting your brain from dementia, there are actually some health risks associated with drinking coffee, particularly on an empty stomach, that we should be aware of. So for starters, coffee can take a serious toll on your digestive system. All that Java basically jumpstarts your stomach's production of acid, and if you haven't already eaten something, the acid could end up damaging your stomach's lining, which basically leads to things like indigestion and heartburn. This also holds true for decaf coffee for you, decaf coffee drinkers out there. Don't think that you're not, you're excluded from this, because you're not. The same premise holds true for decaf as does, regular coffee. And to be honest, that's not the only risk. So drinking coffee on an empty stomach can give you, jitters, the shakes, and other withdrawal effects, including mood changes. It can also increase symptoms of anxiety, as well as boost your heart rate, your irritability levels, and your, inability to focus. And that's a big one, actually, considering that it's been recorded, we're on record, that us humans have less of an attention span than a goldfish. I'm sure you've heard that one before, but it's true, so why would we increase this, this deficit of not, of not having an attention span all that long, it's crazy. It's ludicrous. Not being able to focus because of your preferred method of caffeine intake, it's not good. You know what I mean? It's also been found that sipping on that cup of joe first thing in the morning actually sabotages your internal clock, what do they call it? Your circadian rhythm. And here's what I mean. So your internal clock, this your circadian rhythm, releases a hormone called cortisol when you wake up. This makes you feel alert and energized. And now, contrary to what you might think, the research has also shown that consuming coffee actually decreases your cortisol levels overall. So let me translate that for a second. More often than not, that early morning pick-me-up will in fact backfire on you, causing you to feel sleepier rather than, the other way around. And now, of course, some people have consumed coffee on an empty stomach for years and felt completely fine. And if that applies to you, then by all means, continue drinking, continue on. If you've been drinking for years and you have not encountered any of these issues that I'm describing, then by all means, keep doing what you're doing. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. You know what I mean? I'm not here to pass judgment on you and your coffee drinking habits. I'm just bringing to light the possible health risks you might encounter. And so for everyone else, it's recommended to pair your caffeine fix with a hearty breakfast, or at least a snack if your stomach isn't rumbling and you're the type that absolutely cannot eat in the morning. I actually came across this little article because I've noticed that in recent years, like the past year or so, I've been getting heartburn more often than not. And so I started looking into reasons and contributors of heartburn, and I came across this article. And a lot of it made sense because I do, for the longest time now, I've been the type that, I wake up and the first thing that I do after brushing my teeth and getting dressed or showered or working out, like the first thing I do is that I put that fresh pot of coffee on and I have my cup of coffee because I just have to have it, But in doing so, a lot of times I have my coffee on an empty stomach. And like I said, I've been noticing that more often than not, recently, in recent years, I've been getting, heartburn more often than I normally would. So anyway, not sure what your thoughts are. I would love to hear them though. So if you would, drop me some comments and let me know what you think. And while you're doing that, we'll move on to our second segment, Mighty Man. So in this segment of Mighty Man, we're talking about how to master the perfect push-up arm position. So first off, let me start by saying that push-ups are one of those core, fundamental types of exercises that everyone can and should do. They can build muscle tone and strength in your upper body. Not only that, but some other potential benefits include improved cardiovascular health and better support around the shoulder joints. But the reality is that practicing push-ups, especially if done every day, does come with a few risks, like lower back pain, wrist pain, and even repetitive stress injury to the elbows, or as it's more commonly known as carpal tunnel of the elbow or tennis elbow. And no matter how many years you've spent mastering the perfect push-up, the minute your muscles start getting tired, your form starts to go out the window. Your hips start to sink, your arms get all shaky, and it starts feeling like you can't make it through like another rep without collapsing in on yourself. Trust me, I know the feeling all too well, and if you're like me, then I'm sure you know the feeling too. But according to Shelby Smith, an exercise physiologist and health coach based in Rhode Island, the best way to combat all of this and get things right until the very end of your set is basically to focus on the placement of your elbows. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So something as simple as the placement of your elbows is the difference between finishing those last two sets of 10 or 15 push-ups or more or less crashing onto your chest after your arms and shoulders simply give in. So according to Smith, you'll be able to tell when your form is starting to go south simply by cueing into the way your arms are moving. So basically paying attention to your push-up form or the placement of your hands, elbows, wrists, shoulders, chest, etc. as you make your way down toward the floor and back up again. Like all the movement from the initial plank position all the way down and then back up. What she actually said was this, and I quote, "The most common mistake people make when performing push-ups is allowing their elbows to flare out. meaning that when you do push-ups, when doing push-ups, you need to keep your elbows tight to your rib cage. But many people don't do this, either because they don't know how to do push-ups properly, or they just don't realize that they're doing it. And don't feel bad if right now you're thinking, dang, this is totally me. My elbows flare out when I do push-ups, because I'm the number one offender, to be honest with you. Every time I do push-ups with my trainer or my wife, who's also a trainer and fitness director, they both hound me to keep my elbows in tight. So trust me when I tell you, I know what you mean, dude. I'm right there with you. Another mistake that Smith talked about was how many people hold their elbows up too high. As in, if you were to draw an imaginary line from your left elbow to your left shoulder, then to your right shoulder, and finally to your right elbow, the line would be almost a direct straight line. This is not good. So basically, you'll know your elbows are too high, quote unquote, because if they're in line with your shoulder joint when you're going down in your push-up, this creates way too much stress on the front of your shoulders, which keeps you from fully benefiting from the move. And it usually leaves you with some sort of post-workout pain in your upper body and shoulders. So what you want at the end of the day is for your pecs or your chest muscles to be doing most of the work, and your triceps should essentially be spotting your chest. They should be assisting. Kind of like when you're lifting a heavy bench press and you have someone spot or assist you so that your form doesn't get all squirrely. You can stay on point and maximize each rep. That's kind of the same job of your triceps in doing a push-up. It kind of helps keep your form on point and assists in the up and down movements. And ultimately, you shouldn't be relying on your shoulders to keep you moving. So if you're feeling it in your shoulders, then your form is most likely a little off. But don't worry, because the fix is really simple, actually. All you have to do is make a few small tweaks to your up and down movements to make sure that your elbows never go beyond the recommended 45-degree angle when you hit the bottom of the move. So first, check that your hands are slightly wider than your shoulders, with your fingers facing forward and slightly fanned out. So kind of spread out with a little space in between all your fingers. So your fingers should always be facing forward and never inward, so that you've got a nice solid grip on the floor, again with your fingers kind of spread out. And then when lowering yourself to the floor, imagine that you're twisting a mason jar with the palms of your hand. So you want to be twisting outwards. This subtle little change in your form helps lock your elbows in at a 45-degree angle. And then think as if you're pulling yourself down toward the floor. So again, on the down movement, keep your elbows in by thinking as if your palms are resting on mason jars, and you're twisting outwards as you pull yourself down toward the ground. And so now, when you push back up, think about pushing the floor away from you. Kind of like, have you ever been in a in a shoving match with your brother or sister, or maybe even a best friend or a bully in school, where you kind of got into each other's face and then you shove that other person to kind of assert your dominance? Or is that just me and my experiences growing up in New York? Not sure, but it's kind of like a shoving match. You want that same energy, that explosiveness. You're showing the floor who's boss, basically. Get into a shoving match with the floor, if you will. But here's the key when shoving or pushing the floor away. What you'll want to do is you'll want to be sure that you're firing up your core and squeezing your quads and glutes, which will help your body move in a straight line and help prevent those elbows from flaring out to the wrong position. Now, you might want to do this a little slower at first to get the hang of it. You want to go down slowly so you can focus on your mason jar twist and pull, and then slowly bring yourself up with a good shove. Now, don't shove so hard that you end up locking your elbows out. This is also not good. I've made this mistake too, where I shove so hard, like I explode up so hard that I end up locking my elbows, and that kind of hurts. You want to shove hard, but you also want to control it a bit so you don't lock out your elbows at the same time. That's kind of where the actual workout comes in. It's in the whole explosive yet controlled movements, that those up and down explosive movements with a certain amount of control. And listen, if you're feeling that your form is starting to slip, then suck up that manly pride of yours, drop to your knees, and finish the set from there. You have my full permission to do so, because form is always, always, always more important than finishing your set. So remember, you guys, to truly maximize your push-up results, keep your elbows tucked in tight and strong. Use some explosive up and down movements, but always with some control. So that's it, you guys. That's my show for today. I hope you found some valuable information here. And if nothing else, I hope I've entertained you for a few minutes and was able to bring you a little manly sunshine to your day. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to listen to me. It's very much appreciated. On next week's episode, we'll be going over how to use the 8 dimensions of wellness to set up healthy boundaries. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. And if you'd like to continue the conversation with me, get on over to podcast.dastination.com/VIP to get on the VIP Insiders community, where I share even more raw behind the scenes stories, tips, and hacks that'll keep you feeling younger and younger each and every day. That's podcast.dastination.com/VIP. Again, that's podcast.dastination.com/VIP. Be in the know starting right now. Also, don't forget to rate me on iTunes by leaving me a fat, juicy 5-star review and some absolutely beautiful words of why you love the show so much. It really helps me get the word out there, and it's honestly the one place where your vote truly matters. Till the next chat, take care now. Bye.